In a dramatic turn of events, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has stepped down just a day after he said he will not be quitting. The resignation comes just a few days before Johnson would have completed 3 years in office. Over the next few minutes, we get to you a few highlights of the Prime Minister's political journey.
Prime Minister, how's your week going?
Terrific, like many others.
It was a challenging week, to say the least, for the British Prime Minister. What started as claims of lying against Number 10 concluded with an end to Johnson's premiership. Boris Johnson joined the Conservative Party as a candidate in 1997. He lost his first political bid to the opposition Labour Party, but stood for the Parliament again in 2001. This time, winning the bid in the Henley-on-Thames constituency. In the next 6 years, Johnson regularly appeared on the telly, made some controversial comments, had to apologise for a few as well, but led on with his political journey. Johnson was elected the Mayor of London in 2007, winning a tight race against the Labour Party led by Gordon Brown. He later served as the Foreign Secretary under Theresa May.
I have to say that the Foreign Secretary is doing an absolutely excellent job. He is, in short, an FFS, a fine Foreign Secretary.
Johnson's tenure as the Foreign Secretary also came with controversies. He found himself in a spot often, given the blunt statements made.
I use phrases and language that have caused offence. Of course, I'm sorry for the offence that I have caused, but I will continue to speak as directly as I can.
In 2019, Boris Johnson was elected leader of the Conservative Party.
Jeremy Hunt, 46,656. Boris Johnson, 92,153. And therefore I give notice that Boris Johnson is elected as the leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party.
And appointed the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom the next day.
I have just been to see Her Majesty the Queen, who has invited me to form a government, and I have accepted.
The first thing Johnson did on assuming charge was reopening of the Brexit negotiations, a bold promise that he made.
And yes, they will have an overwhelming mandate from this election to get Brexit done, and we will honour that mandate by January the 31st.
Amid several deadlocks, stalled conversations, protests and opposition, the UK left the EU on the 31st of January 2020. The Tories made promises of an independent British economy, but as fate would have it, the tall claims were dampened by the COVID-19 pandemic.
The time has now come for us all to do more. From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
While the government's quick rollout of COVID-19 vaccine buoyed the Johnson administration, his lockdown party sank the public's trust in Number 10. Johnson has faced months of damaging revelations of parties held at his office in defiance of the COVID-19 lockdowns. The leaked images and videos started propping up in the media at the beginning of this year.
There was a brief gathering in the Cabinet Room shortly after 2 p.m, lasting for less than 10 minutes, during which people I work with kindly passed on their good wishes. And I have to say, in all frankness, at that time, it did not occur to me that this might have been a breach of the rules.
Johnson had his justifications, but they could not build back the trust of the public. Partygate was just the start of a series of scandals that would follow. 2 Tory MPs were forced to quit from their seats following sexual misconduct claims. The party failed to save the seat in a by-poll held last month. The final nail in the coffin was the Pincher scandal. The former Tory whip stepped down following claims of sexual misconduct. Chris Pincher had a history of such inappropriate behaviour, which was conveniently ignored by Johnson while electing Pincher as the party whip. The Tory government fell like a pack of cards. Those who have resigned say that the government has lost integrity, that there needs to be some accountability, and that Johnson cannot let his personal political ambitions override his duty as the Prime Minister. Now, with history as witness, Johnson has a tainted political legacy and no office to hold on to. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Listen in now once again to what Boris Johnson had said while addressing the nation just a short while back.
I want to thank you, the British public, for the immense privilege that you have given me. And I want you to know that from now on until the new Prime Minister is in place, your interests will be served and the government of the country will be carried on. Good afternoon. Thank you. It is clearly now the will of the Parliamentary Conservative Party that there should be a new leader of that party and therefore a new Prime Minister. And I've agreed with Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of our backbench MPs, that the process of choosing that new leader should begin now. And the timetable will be announced next week. And I've today appointed a cabinet to serve, as I will, until a new leader is in place.
And we earlier spoke to Freddie Gray, who is the deputy editor of The Spectator, for his perspectives. Take a listen in.
I think sort of in sum, it was actually a fairly gracious speech. There's been a lot of excited talk in London, in Westminster in the last 24 hours about how Britain is in a sort of Donald Trump crisis moment with a leader who refuses to go in spite of all democratic conventions. I think we heard in that speech that that's just not the case. He has gone. He's gone quite graciously. And we don't know the exact time frame, but it looks as though it'll be pretty quick because he's handing it over to the 1922 committee. And given the sort of lack of a functioning government at the moment, they will be keen to put in place a new leader quite soon. I think it's quite an interesting dynamic, and it shows that Boris Johnson still believes he has the public mandate. And of course, in sort of strictly democratic terms, he does. So therefore, he still believes it's the administration has to carry on. So I think he wants to stamp his imprint on it and put in place people he thinks will carry on his agenda. And I mean, it's been said a lot that this government hasn't actually done much. I think in its defence, and I think it's made huge mistakes and been very chaotic in many ways, in its defence, it has done quite a lot. And you do have to consider that it was in charge during the COVID crisis, which was crippling for many governments. And it didn't really cope terribly well under that strain, but I'm not sure anybody else could have done. So in spite of that, there has been large investments in infrastructure. I think the Boris Johnson's Conservatism didn't have a very clear economic agenda, and that's something that you'll see a lot of the new intake, the new breed, trying to emphasise that they want to go back to conservative economics.
And we have also been getting reactions from on the ground. Listen into what Londoners had to say about Boris Johnson's chaotic leadership.
He should have been gone a long time. Overstayed his welcome by a long margin.
I was originally a fan, but I think for a long time now the writing's been on the wall, and I think it was getting very desperate. I think we've got to look at our reputation on a global basis as well.
100% shambles. Complete shambles with everything.
Because he's a buffoon, he's an idiot, and you can't trust him. It's like dealing with 11-year-old children who just say it wasn't me.
I actually, quite like Boris. I think he's very jovial, very optimistic, but it's gone too far. He has to go.
And with Boris Johnson stepping down, speculation rife over his replacement. He has announced that he will be stepping down after those resignations from his top team. and the backlash that he has faced over the Pincher scandal earlier, the Partygate row that once again had put further pressure on Boris Johnson. The embattled Prime Minister now has stepped down just a short while back, addressing the nation. The British stock markets have been cheering Boris Johnson's resignation. That's the latest that we have coming in, as you just listened in to those reactions from on the ground as well of Londoners who have been reacting to the way Boris Johnson's leadership has been tumultuous, to say the least, over the last few weeks. In fact, the last few months have seen Boris Johnson battling one scandal after another with mounting pressure on the leader. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.